Hello everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. We are outside Stamford Bridge today after a 0-0 draw against Crystal Palace, the opening game. Charlie, we spoke a lot during pre-season and the Club World Cup. Many positives to take from the Milan and Leverkusen game. What was the main difference today in terms of not being able to get the result?
Just a difficult game, mate. I think Palace set up really well, hard to beat, well coached, good unit. They said Gurhi, Enquires, big guys at the back, and we struggled to break them down, mate. They executed their game plan perfectly. The first half from us, we just didn't get any of the attacking players involved at all. Very few chances created, and they just made it really difficult for us. Obviously, we didn't do enough, but Palace made it tough for us, mate, and they were much better than AC Milan or Bayer Leverkusen was. We have to be honest there. And we looked sluggish. We looked a bit off the pace.
What was the? I mean, did that change anything to do with the way we played, or were we just giving credit to Palace?
No, look, we set up with a team exactly what we expected. Obviously, same team that started against Milan. Obviously, Achimpong came in for tossing because he was injured. I was expecting more. I was expecting more. I knew it would be a tight game and a close game. I thought there'd be one goal in it either way. I was expecting more from us, particularly in that first half. As I said, Palmer, not much happening. Gittins, I thought had a disappointing game. Neto, Palmer and stuff, Joao Pedro, we're not getting these guys involved enough in the game. I didn't have any issues with the team, but I think when you look at Palace and their physical, maybe it would have been a game for Liam Delap to start. I know Pedro deserved to start because of the form that he's been in, but maybe with the physicality and, you get it up to them, because Pedro, cute, you play it on the floor and stuff. That's easy for those big units at the back. So maybe for that type of game, Delap would have been better. I felt, the substitution should have come a little bit earlier as well. When Esteval come on, he done more than Gittins within 2 minutes. And the kid looks really special. I think he's going to be a top player for us. And within a few weeks, mate, I think he'll be a starting option on that right-hand side. But I just felt the subs came a little bit too late. I think the absence of Colwell was definitely felt as well. Achimpong a little bit sloppy at the start, giving the ball away, which obviously ultimately led to that free kick, which I'll get onto in a sec. But I think he grew into the game and he done reasonably well. But I think you can tell so much how much we miss Colwell, particularly in the build-up from that central centre-back position, the angles, the passing. We do really miss that. And I think today once again showed that whilst Achimpong is a quality player, it's not about the lack of quality in the options. It's about the quality to play that central centre-back role. And I feel we've been taking a huge gamble if we don't go and get someone.
So you prioritise a centre-back over over Simmons and Garnacho?
If you can't get all three, you go Simmons and you get a centre-back, in my opinion.
If you can only get one?
If you can only get one, I would probably go Simmons and you just make do. Because I think in terms of breaking down a low block, today Simmons would have been a really useful guy to have. And we still need options out there on that left-hand side. People talk about Garnacho probably coming in, he probably will. This is not me saying that Garnacho is a better player than Gittins. If Garnacho comes in, mate, he will be starting a lot of games on that left-hand side. Not necessarily because he's better, but because Gittins is still so raw, and Garnacho is simply more ready for Premier League football than Jamie Gittins is. But, I mean, look, ultimately today, when you look at it, bro, in the end, we were quite lucky. That free kick, why there's a massive hole in the wall to begin with, I've got no idea. And then the one...
Maybe it's so that Sanchez could see.
Well, I don't know. But then the one place the ball... I know they took the free kick quickly. Yeah. The one place the ball is obviously going, the only place the ball is going, is keeper's side. Why is he not expecting it to go there? It's the same old Sanchez. People are telling me he's improved. His distribution today wasn't good. Yeah, he made 1 or 2 saves, but it's the same guy that hasn't improved. And over a course of a season, he will make these mistakes and he will cost you points. So, nothing for me has changed. It's kind of the same old Sanchez in that regard. We did get away with that, not for the foul, but because Gurhi was less than a metre away from the rule. I didn't even know that was a rule. It's obviously a rule that has been there, but they obviously don't enforce it particularly often. So we were lucky. We got away with that. Having said that, mate, we had 2 or 3 really big chances. Esteval, the chest control takes it a bit wide, and maybe he should have left it for Neto, a bit of a wild shot in the end. The biggest one though, the Andre Santos one at the end, where he's got loads of space just inside the box. He should take a touch, but he leans back and it goes straight over. When you create 2 or 3 big chances, you've got to take one of those. You have to take one of those. So I look at it, I don't think we played badly, mate, but it's sort of a similar issue where these are the kind of games we've struggled in now for a number of years, when we're required to break teams down and when teams are set up in a very tight defensive unit. And yeah, we'll grow into the season. Yeah, we'll get better. The addition of Simmons and Garnacho, they both arrive. That will make a difference in terms of our attacking fluidity going forward. These players will get more used to playing together and get more used to the system. despite the signings, I still feel we lack a bit of quality in the final third, and we just didn't create enough opportunities today. Other than the save from Delap late on, which was kind of right at Henderson, I don't really remember Henderson making a save, like a decent save.
Very limited. Very limited. I mean, what I will say is I think that you're right in terms of the fact that we weren't terrible. I think it was a pretty average performance. That's probably the best way I could look at it. But in every average performance, there's always underwhelming players that you think, oh, maybe you might be the weak link. And we've obviously, you spoke about Sanchez, we spoke about Achimpong, not because he's not good enough, just because of the profile.
He did get better in the game, by the way. Yeah. That's not me saying he had a terrible game, but I felt he was a bit nervous to begin with, gave the ball away a few times and whatnot. By the way, it's a very difficult task playing up against Mateta. The guy's physical, he's an absolute unit, and he will cause a lot of centre-backs issues this season like he did last season. Let's give credit to Palace. Well, Mateta was a handful. Eze, particularly in that first half, I thought was outstanding. Adam Wharton in midfield was very good as well. Really good player to watch. And Palace defended very well also. So you have to give some credit there. But I was expecting us to create a few more opportunities, and I was expecting us to play a little bit more on the front foot. I felt the substitutions were a little bit late. I think the game was calling for those maybe at half-time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes into the second half. But you're right, mate. You can't stand here and say that was a terrible performance. That was really disappointing. You know, there's loads of cause for concern. There's not. But one thing I would be maybe a little bit concerned about potentially going forwards is I'm just hoping this is not a pattern to come throughout the season of struggling to break down low blocks. I think Xavi Simons, if we sign him, will make a difference with that. Yeah. But
I think Esteval will certainly make a difference.
But it's as I said,
they had to double up on Esteval.
But as I said, mate, it's the same kind of game that we've struggled in for a number of years, that sort of game. And, you know, it wasn't really a surprise to me how he did today. I mean, I felt Enzo Fernandez looked sluggish. I mean, everyone in that first half was miles off him. I thought he looked particularly sluggish. But, yeah, I think we're going to take time. That was our first competitive game since the Club World Cup final. Yes, OK, we played well and we looked better in those pre-season friendlies. But I think there are some positives to take. It's not all doom and gloom. We're not out of a title race or anything like that. But having said that, if you want to challenge for the title, which we do, you have got to win games like these at home against these sort of teams. But by the way, Palace are no mugs. They're absolutely not. Yes, you should be beating teams like Palace if you've got aspirations to challenge at the top. But let's make no mistake about it. They're also a good team.
I suppose one of the ways you can always look at the season is you look at the teams you struggled against and you go, well, we drew against them or we lost. Can we now beat them? And Palace, that's 3 draws in a row now with Glasner in charge. It's not a case of we're scared of Palace, but we struggled to beat them, and that happened at Selhurst Park and the Bridge as well last season. So, again, not to make excuses, but I do think that you know, a lot of people, myself included, probably a little bit more relaxed just because it's so early on. Problem is, if this continues, if this trend doesn't stop, that's when we're going to have an issue. And we've only got 2 more weeks in the window as well, Charlie.
Yeah, of course. Look, I mean, anyone that's losing their head after the first game of the season is miles off it. I don't know what they're thinking. But yeah, you know, no panic stations. Expected a little bit better today. We didn't lose. Expected a few more chances to be created, expected us to play on the front foot a bit more, expected us to perform a little bit better, but we are going to be sluggish, and it is going to take us a number of weeks to grow into the game and grow into the season as a whole. But look, you're right. You know, if we're still having these similar conversations about these kind of games, sort of 2, 3, 4 months into the season, then it obviously becomes a bit more of a worry. You're right, the window, let's see what we can do. I think Simons will definitely come, Garnacho will probably come. The big one, as I said, is the centre-back. I just feel if we don't get a centre-back in, we're asking for a bit of a problem throughout the season. I really do think that. Just because, you know, we can't trust the Fana and Badia Shield to stay fit anyway. And then you're relying on Tosin and Chalobah to stay fit for the whole season, which is no guarantees. And then you've got a very young and inexperienced Josh Achimpong who's kind of learning on the job. So if we can go and get someone, let's do it. And let's do everything we can to try and get someone, because otherwise, you know, I think it will be a little bit of an issue.
I mean, we know Tosin's coming back for the West Ham game. Apart from that, because that seems like the obvious change, do you tweak anything else?
No, I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. No, maybe you start Esteban instead of Gittins.
Potentially play Neto on the left.
Yeah, maybe you do that. But other than that, bro, I didn't expect the team to be that different for the game against West Ham next week. I really don't. But I'm not saying the West Ham next week is must win. But you sort of do want to win, because you don't want to kick your season off first 2 games with no wins. You know, you want to get those first 3 points on the board as quickly as possible. So yeah, look, improvements needed for West Ham, definitely. But nothing to panic about right now. But the last 2 weeks of the window are important. We've got to get some players in. But look, I'm confident we're still going to have a good season. But we are going to have to play better than that, and we are going to have to work on breaking down these low blocks.
What's your prediction for the season?
Look, I think we'll come third. I think, we can challenge and push for longer than we did last season, but ultimately I think over the course of a season, your likes of your Liverpools and your Cities are probably going to be stronger and better than us. But I think we'll finish above Arsenal, but in terms of, winning the league, I don't think so. I'll go third place for us.
Big up to you. Thanks so much, Charlie. Pleasure.